Want to say hello, good morning to our listeners from around the world. I want to welcome you again to another edition of This Morning with SoulIVITY, broadcasting live from our studio right here in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. Of course, you know me. I'm Brian Westley Johnson, and I'm your host for today, but I'm also joined by some amazing co-hosts, a dynamic duo, if I do say so myself, Sheila Applegate and Dr. Sinead. Well, Dr. Sinead DeGuzman. Good morning to both of you. Wow, I've got this person on my mind because I want to talk about her later. But good morning to you guys.
Good
Good
morning. The
morning.
dynamic duo. I love it.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I hope the other hosts don't get jealous, but I'll
We
call
all
the
have
right.
our own duo-ness.
Yeah. How has your week been, Dr. Chanel? I haven't heard you this week, so how has your week been?
Well, Brian and Sheila, I am floating from the 40th class
Oh,
reunion on
yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah, girl.
And I did the assignment. I completed it. I brought it. I left it. No crumbs.
No crumbs left.
No crumbs left. So just grateful to see so many of my past classmates. And unfortunately, some had passed away, which we acknowledge. But overall, it was just a beautiful time. And
Wow.
then Brian, I was sharing my son popped in on us because he's right there on campus. So
Oh,
he made a
Yeah.
cameo appearance. And so it was lovely, lovely.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. What about you, Sheila? I mean, we talked yesterday, but any amazing news since we talked yesterday?
I went to see the play The Cake yesterday,
Wow.
and
Oh,
it was so
Okay.
good. Yeah, it was amazing. The actors were amazing. We're kind of fortunate here because sometimes actors from New York come up for the summer.
Mhm.
So in small little theaters, we get this amazing performance. But The Cake it's a really good show. If it's ever playing or, on in the theaters near you, I would totally recommend it. It's about a Southern baker whose goddaughter asks her to bake a cake for her wedding to
Oh,
another woman.
wow.
So it really just touches all the different dynamics, and it was beautiful.
mhm.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
nice.
great.
Yeah.
Just want to before we get started, I just wanted to acknowledge some really sad news from the world of music today. This was reported yesterday, specifically in the Irish news. Irish singer Sinead OConnor died at
Mhm,
the age of
Mm.
56.
mhm, mhm.
In a statement from her family, they said, it is with great sadness that we announce the passing of our beloved Sinead. Her family and friends are devastated, and we have requested privacy at this very difficult time. Now, the
Mhm.
acclaimed Dublin performer released 10 studio albums, while her song Nothing Compares to You was named the number one world single in 1990 by Billboard Music Awards. Her version of the ballad, written by musician Prince, topped the charts around the globe and earned her 3 Grammy nominations. So just
Beautiful.
want to send our love and support out to her family at this time. What makes this so devastating, everybody, is that she just lost her son. She lost her son a year prior.
Mhm.
Mm.
So there's been speculation that there's some kind of connection, but you know, I don't want to do that. I just want to make sure
Mhm.
that the family is sent light and love.
Supportive. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because just it's just horrible. I mean,
Mhm.
to lose two loved ones in the same, basically almost the same 12 months or 15 months or whatever it is
Mhm.
just really, really hard.
Mhm.
Really, really hard. So just want to that's why that was on my mind earlier this morning.
Right.
Again, we want to remind our listeners before we get into our topic for today that listen, you're part of this conversation. Feel free to comment, ask questions, or give your thoughts during our broadcast. You can do that by posting on our live feeds on any of our social media, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're listening from. Feel free to do that. You can also leave comments after the broadcast too, and we'll answer those as well. Listen, we have a very, very fantastic hot topic today that I'm really looking forward to discussing with our special guest. Something that's near and dear to my heart. It's emotional intelligence. And we have a very, very special guest to talk about this. And I want my pleasure to introduce to you Kathy Bott, who is the president and CEO of CWC Leadership Development. She's a very successful businesswoman who operates joyfully a six-figure coaching and consulting practice that she established in 2015. She's also a master certified coach through ICF with an elite list of clients such as Mercedes-Benz, Michigan State University, Trinity Health, and Kresge Foundation, just to name a few. She's also a certified social and emotional intelligence coach and international speaker, for she is championing her cause to help people increase their emotional intelligence, which creates a sense of well-being that leads to success. She's also the author of a fantastic book. Shh, just listen. Great things happen in the silence. And she is living a life of purpose with her husband of 40 years. You better go. You better go. I love it. So let's welcome to this morning with SoulIVITY, Kathy Bott. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, 40 years. All right now.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah, 40
you
years.
you got to know about some emotional intelligence.
Definitely. Thank you for that. Yeah,
Good.
40 years.
Oh man, Kathy, this is something that is so under the radar, but is also so prevalent in our society. Emotional. I'm speaking of emotional intelligence, and I'm so glad we're bringing to the forefront with you. As I said before we got online, I can already tell I'm gonna want to have you back because we're going to try to get through a lot today, but there's so much. This is such a rich topic to talk about.
It
Um,
really is.
Especially given your experiences. I mean, successful businesswoman, um, entrepreneur. You're probably using, your coaching practices and consulting practices around emotional intelligence with businesses and other entrepreneurs and other organizations. So I'm like just like so excited right now. Um, First question, which is a simple one. What makes emotional intelligence so important to success in our lives?
Great question. So, emotional intelligence has four quadrants. And so it's self awareness,
Mhm.
self management, awareness of others, and then relationship management.
Yeah.
So the thing is that self awareness and self management is all about the relationship you have with yourself.
Wow.
And so you can't have a healthy relationship with anyone else until you have a healthy relationship with yourself. And so in the work that I do, what I love about being a coach is I get to see people open hearted, experience them open hearted. And the majority of people are disconnected from themselves.
Mm.
So when I first started my business, I had this tagline: I'm the life and leadership coach that specializes in introducing people to themselves. And so my goal is to create a safe space for people to come face to face with themselves, discover their natural gifts and talents, develop a healthy relationship with themselves, and lead from a place of authenticity,
Mm.
confidence, and inspiration.
Mm. 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 Something about that authenticity, boy. It's like, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Chanel.
Kathy, that's awesome. Thank you for that content. And, maybe for our listeners too, even if you want to even, just give us that real high level of, why it is so important. And maybe also, when did you discover this truth for yourself?
Mm.
When did you come face to face with Kathy?
Ooh, good question.
All right.
I
All
love the
right.
question. Okay. And I talk about this in my book, but when I was in my 30s, early to mid 30s, I didn't know myself.
Mm.
So I'd married young. At the time, I had three kids, all 2 years apart. And so I was working a job. I came home and I told my husband, let's have another baby. And he was like, nope. And the reason I wanted to have another baby, because I only knew myself as a mom. So I was looking to find myself. I didn't know who I was. So then I quit my job. I come home and I am going that Monday, I'm going to make my kids breakfast. I'm going to make their lunch and send them off to school. That Monday morning, my kids had gotten up, made their own breakfast, made their own lunch, and were out the door before I even got up. I'll never forget this morning. I opened the refrigerator door and I said to myself, what am I going to do now? And there was this hollow emptiness inside. And so that's when I began my journey. So my journey began with, first of all, going to therapy. I know a lot of times in the Black community, people don't like to talk about therapy. Go to therapy. And then finding myself, discovering myself, and then figuring out what fills my bucket and who am I? Like, I came face to face with myself, met myself, fell in love with myself, and discovered my natural gifts and talents. Then when I went to school for executive coaching, my coach and mentor suggested, why don't you get your certification for emotional intelligence? When I went through that training, I fell head over heels with emotional intelligence, a deeper love for myself, a deeper love for most relationships, a deeper love with God, because I could finally articulate the emotions that I was feeling, and I could finally understand that I get to decide what I want to do with these emotions. So that's when my journey began.
Wow.
That is
That's
awesome. And I'll say that Kathy is a very generous spirit. Kathy and I met one time and she gifted me her book, which was amazing. Shh, just listen.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful. Sheila?
So I love your story. I think it's so important that people who work in this field do take that time to look at themselves first and to find that path. So it's a wonderful way that you entered this field and that you're now sharing that with others. Can you share one of the stories that you might have, confidentially, of course, of early on, one of the maybe clients or situations where you just felt so full because you watched someone embrace just what you had gone through?
Definitely. This is one of my favorite experiences that I like to share. I was coaching a chief nursing officer during the pandemic. And I'm going to say we're about 18 months into the pandemic. She's meeting with her CEO for their one-on-ones. And during the entire pandemic, he never turned on his camera.
Wow.
One-on-one, he's typing on his computer, never turned on his camera.
Wow.
And so my question to her was, well, what conversations have you had with him around this? She says, none. I said, well, what prevents you? And she came up with all of these excuses. I said, I'm sensing some fear. Is that correct? She says, yes. Well, then I pull up a wheel of emotions that has about, I'm going to say 80 emotions on it. And underneath fear, there's a plethora of emotions. And two of the emotions, I asked her, I said, when you're in the presence of your leader, how do you feel? And she chose inadequate and worthless.
Wow.
Okay. All right. What do you want to do with those emotions? She said, inadequate, I'm going to throw out the window because I know I'm great at my job. And worthless, that's how I used to feel when I was with my dad. And he reminds me so much of my dad. I said, okay, with that awareness, what's your next step? She says, I'm going to have a conversation and tell him to turn on his camera. He turned on his camera and their relationship began to improve after that.
Wow.
Nice. I love that.
That's amazing. Oh man. I knew this conversation was going to be great already. We could just end the show with that. No, but we ain't. We're going to keep moving. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking more about emotional intelligence Key to Success with President and CEO Kathy Bott of CWC Leadership Development. We're going to talk about these three steps, Kathy, that I've found that you try to take people through. Want you to kind of go through those with us when we come back. So we'll be back with more of This Morning with SoulIVITY in just a second.
6 years ago, when I started SoulIVITY, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit SoulIVITY.com now.
And we're back with more of This Morning with SoulIVITY with our very special guest today, Kathy Bott. Hey, Kathy. President and CEO of CWC Leadership Development. We are talking about emotional intelligence. Woo! Lord. I'm so glad we're talking about this today. Kathy, you have 3 specific steps that, generally speaking, you try to take people through. This is on your website as well. Can you kind of describe those 3 steps for us?
Absolutely. The first step is training. So with emotional intelligence, you have to have the intellectual training. Okay, so that's the first step. The second step is you actually have to practice it and intentionally practice it. So when I'm working with organizations, I usually do a 90-minute training on emotional intelligence, and then they get the emotional intelligence workbook, which is just listen, great things happen in the silence. And so the book is written, I explore 30 different emotions and walk through the 4 quadrants of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-management, awareness of others, and relationship management. And then I create the space for the reader to do the same thing.
Wow.
And at the end of each emotion, I ask 2 questions in the book. If I had the opportunity to relive this situation, what would I do differently? And then what were the lessons learned from this emotion? So during that initial training, I have them choose 1 story in the book and work through that story and then share it with a partner. So they go away for 30 days, they work through the book, and then we come back. Additional education on emotional intelligence, and we talk about what have they noticed around emotional intelligence since they've been journaling and capturing their emotions. During that first session, I have a way of measuring their emotional intelligence, how many emotions they can name. The second session, we do the same small little test to see if their emotional vocabulary has improved. And I have just launched an app to use within organizations. It's called My Journey Within. And it's an app where people can go in and log their emotions and work through what they're experiencing, and then even share it with the support person if they like. So it is the intentional practice. It's not just the training, because people will walk away from a training with head knowledge. It's the intentional practice of journaling your emotions and sharing them with someone and slowing down to be able to name what you're feeling in the moment.
That's beautiful. Wow. Sheila?
Well, first of all, I love your process. I've been in the field of emotions for 30 years, but not in the corporate level. So I love the way you're bridging the two. And my initial thought when you began talking about your steps was, oh, how are they going to feel safe in that setting with each other? And so when you said that you let them go home and do it individually for 30 days and come back, I was just like, yeah, that's amazing. Great. So with that in mind, I'm interested in the transformation that you see in the dynamics in the workplace after they've come back. Are people open to share because they've all gone through a similar process? Like, what you must see an amazing shift in the collective as well as the individual at that point. Can you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Okay. And even in that first session when they share with someone else. So one of my specialties, one of my gifts is I excel at creating a safe space for people. Like strangers will come and tell me their life stories.
Right.
If I say, good morning, how are you? They will really tell me. So that's I do know that. So I am, a couple of weeks ago, I did this training for senior executives. They started a new mentoring program, and they're all CEO, CFO, senior executives. They're in this training with me for 3 hours. So I know they don't want to be there for 3 hours. So I start the training off. How do you guys feel about being here? We don't want to be here. We've all been mentors before. We've been mentees. We know what we're doing. I said, thank you. I said, if you hang in there with me, I guarantee you'll walk away with something new. They said, okay. So we get into the portion of where they have to go into the workbook, choose an emotion, write about it, and then share it with someone. So then we come back and debrief. One of the leaders stands up and says to me, the emotion I chose to work through is connected. He said, I'm afraid I'm going to lose the connection I have with my son. He's going away to college.
Wow.
I know. Another gentleman said, I'm angry all the time. I recognize I'm angry, but I don't know what to do with it. And I said, my intuition is telling me something. Can I share it with you? He says, yes. I said, would you like for me to share it in private or in front of the group? He says, you can share it in front of the group. So one of the things I do when I break people up and to serve on and work as teams is I have them line up according to how many siblings they have in their family and include themselves. So this gentleman came from a family of 10 and he was the middle child. So I said, my intuition is telling me that being the middle child of 10 children, there were a lot of times you had to be quiet or speak up or you didn't have a voice. He says, oh my goodness, you're right. So just in that first session, seeing the way people change and a greater comfort level they have with sharing their emotions in that session, being able to have the verbiage to talk about it, and then knowing you can decide what you want to do with it.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. Wow. See, I knew this was going to be a rich conversation because there's so much to talk about, but we got to take a quick break. When we come back, I really want, I know, Chanel, you're going to have a question about this. And so we're going to take this break and we'll be back in about a minute and a half.
Are you ready to take that first step towards true, unwavering inner happiness? Are you like thousands of people who have everything they need, not want, but need, and still can't seem to find happiness and fulfillment in their lives? If so, the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness. Because guess what? It isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we will explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices. And together, we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. So I invite you to join me each week on SoulIVITY TV on the Steps to Happiness show with me, Teresa Greco.
Yes, and you can catch a new Steps to Happiness today at 12 noon right here on SoulIVITY TV with Teresa Greco. We're back talking with our very special guest today, Kathy Bott, President and CEO of CWC Leadership Development. We are talking about emotional intelligence. Wish I had like an echo. Intelligence.
Stop it.
Oh man, Chanel, I know you had a question.
Yes, Kathy. So I love the fact that one of your gifts are to create that safe space, place for people to have that transformation. How does diversity play into emotional intelligence? And what I'm thinking of are the differences between how men emote and how women emote, and maybe, the differences in our culture. Some cultures are more receptive to dealing with their emotions than others. Can you speak about where diversity intersects with emotional intelligence?
Mm.
I can. I love the question. So, the first thing I'll start off by saying, I have coached a lot of men. And the one thing since I've, been an executive coach that I've been blown away by is that men have feelings. I knew they had feelings.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do.
But their willingness to share. And so a lot of times my male clients will share things with me and I'll say, how much of this have you shared with your partner? Or how much of this have you shared with your mate? And they'll say, none of it.
Wow.
And what I've noticed with men is when they're with their friends, they talk about their job or sports.
Yeah.
When they go home, they want to be the protector of the family.
Mhm.
So what space is created for them to actually share their feelings? So I love holding the space for them to share their feelings. The other question, when you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, if you will, I will share that emotional intelligence is directly tied to diversity because it's all about how we feel in different situations when we're interacting with people who are different from us. Now, when we think about different cultures, again, I've trained over 10,000 people nationally and internationally. And I know that there are differences in cultures, diversity, because like the Asian culture, they're not as affectionate, physically affectionate.
Mhm.
And I went through one training and it said there isn't even a word, a Chinese word in their vocabulary for love. Our children know we love them because we take care of them. We put food on the table. But the one thing that I will say, I was facilitating a training on diversity, equity, and inclusion with 150 people. And so I show this video about micro inequities, and I had them put a check mark on a piece of paper for every time one of the micro inequities on the video happened to them. Okay. And so it was a total of about 25. And a lot of people, I had them break up to how many times it happened. And so there was a threesome, and they had 10 check marks. And this happened in 2 individual trainings with 150 people, so between 300 people. 2 Asian women were literally in tears sharing
Wow.
the story of micro inequities and microaggressions.
Mhm.
So, from my perspective, I know they exist, but as I walk my walk and interact with people and creating a safe space for people, people will typically share. Like people have a lot of emotions within them that have been dormant for years, and they're looking for a space to share.
Wonderful.
That's been my
Wonderful.
experience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sheila?
Do you so while you're talking, I'm thinking about how grateful I am that you are reaching so many people in so many different countries. And I feel like our disconnect from emotions as a society is one of the things that is predominant in keeping us unhealed as a humanity. And especially in the capitalistic system and hierarchy that comes from that. When you look at your impact, you see the impact on the individuals and you get that feedback. What do you think about when you think about your impact on the world and why emotional intelligence is so important to us as a complete society?
Mm, I love the question. One thing I can say, When I was graduated from school to become an executive coach, one of the instructors, she kept saying, "Oh, Kathy, you're such a light. Go out there and share your light with the world." And I always thought that was so broad. And I always thought, really? Little old me? I've really come to appreciate what she means by that. And it really is creating a space for people to be comfortable connecting their brain and their heart. And I'm reading this book and getting ready to step into this arena. It's called Regenerative Leadership. And it's all about mimicking nature and bringing our entire being to the work that we do, mind, body, soul, and spirit, and the heart work, and how we get back to, like, society has separated the brain, facts, figures, bottom line, dollars, from the heart. And that's where the creativity and the innovation comes into play. So a lot of organizations want that creativity, innovation, authenticity, but the ground for, or the safe space for being that way, hasn't been created. So emotional intelligence is very important within organizations, giving people the space, the psychological safety to be able to talk about their emotions and decide what they want to do with them. When people feel safe, when people feel heard and validated, their innovation and creativity goes through the roof.
You're talking my
I
language.
know, me too.
I'm
All of
dancing
our
in my
language.
seat.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny, Kathy, because as you're speaking on this, it's like, I think a lot of us intellectually know this, what you're saying, to be true, but we don't. I guess there's societal norms, there's organizational norms, there's capitalistic norms that exist, that push back against it, even though we know that the outcomes would be way better, right? And so again, this work, thank you for doing this tireless work. Listen, we're going to take another break, and then we're going to have more with Kathy Bott on emotional intelligence, in about a couple of minutes. So we'll be right back.
Would you like to be one of the first people to experience mental freedom? Mental freedom is a coaching practice with 6 core principles: improving hope, self-efficacy, optimism, resilience, and general well-being. Mental freedom only takes 6 sessions. It is designed to give you the tools you need to help yourself. It can help with any situation: relationship problems, past trauma, career decisions, parenting challenges, addiction, and mental health concerns. Incorporating the mental freedom framework into your life will deliver an approach to master any situation and a pathway toward achieving inner peace. Mental freedom provides the information and tools that you need to grow and be bigger than anything that ever happens to you. So if you're looking for one-on-one or a group coaching program that will allow you to address any situation that comes up in your life with practical tools to give you more peace and joy, then join the Mental Freedom Program in SoulIVITY's Aspire Academy. There are very limited spots available, so don't delay. I hope to see you there.
And we're back with more of This Morning with SoulIVITY with our special guest, Kathy Bott. Hey, Kathy.
Hey.
We are talking.
I'm still
I know
here.
it's a party every day here on This Morning with SoulIVITY. We're talking about emotional intelligence, and in the last segment, Kathy, there came to be this culmination of what we're talking about, in that emotional intelligence, when it is cultivated and managed and encouraged within our personal lives, but also our professional lives, the outcomes across the table are off the chart. What do you believe is some of the roadblocks that we need to bring into awareness and let go that are stopping us from reaching better outcomes with each other?
Great question. So, one of the roadblocks that I think personally for an individual is to actually sit with
Mm-hmm.
themselves. Like for an individual to sit with themselves and really listen to themselves, that's a
Mm-hmm.
challenge. I remember the first time I did it, I wanted to get up and run. It's a challenge. And that's why I wrote the book. Shh, just listen. Great things happen in the silence. It gives people an opportunity to sit with themselves. I didn't have that when I began my journey. And so I had to learn to sit with myself and listen. What am I thinking? What am I physically feeling? What am I feeling emotionally? And now I have a very robust self-care
Mm.
routine that it starts at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm usually not up and done until
Mm.
about 8.
Mm.
So I'm sharing my space with
Wow.
you. Good
Wow.
girl.
That is so important.
Yes, yes. Bible reading, prayer, journaling, meditation, and exercise. So this whole self-care thing, it's my thing. It's my jam. The other thing I will say, I have facilitated mindfulness and self-care within
Mhm.
organizations. And I have seen organizations even create a meditation room. They have had exercise on site. They have even had sleep pods
Mm.
on site. But the leaders don't take the lead in demonstrating the behavior.
Oh,
And so
okay.
then other people don't
Okay.
take the lead. So it has to be demonstrated and it has to be something that's important to the leaders within the
Mhm.
organization. Because think about meditation, the brain is most creative after
Mhm.
meditation. So after I meditate, I grab my journal and I just write. I don't care about spelling, I don't care about grammar. I am trying to capture the innovation and creativity within my
Mhm.
brain. Also think about how many meetings do people have, leaders have in organizations, and people come to the table and they don't share their ideas because of
Right.
fear. Then what they will do is have the meeting after the meeting with their peers where they share their ideas. So another piece is creating psychological safety within
Mm.
organizations, and that's the emotional intelligence piece. How, as a leader, create psychological safety? What do I
Mhm.
do? What do I say? What does my presence needs to be in
Right.
order to create that? So those are just some of the barriers to that being more prevalent in the workplace.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, where can we learn more about what you're doing, who you are, and what's coming up?
Love that question too. Visit my website, cwcleadershipdevelopment.com. There is an opportunity for you to request an appointment. And I am on Instagram, Kathy Bott Speaks. I typically will give tips and tools one day a week about emotional intelligence and how to learn messages from nature. I absolutely love nature. And
Mm.
this whole regenerative leadership is about mimicking nature and becoming one with nature. And so I give a tip about that or emotional intelligence. And reach out to me on my website. I'll even give my phone number. I give my phone number. It's 586-864-3844. So if you're
Mm.
looking for a great executive coach that specializes in emotional intelligence, that's me. I didn't share this, but I've also written a children's book on diversity, equity, and inclusion that's rooted in emotional intelligence. And so
Wow.
and the child. And each page has emojis so that the child can point to how they feel when they experience differences throughout the city. So the name of the book is Welcome to Diverse City, a city of
Aww.
That's awesome.
That's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And so I've been using it in school districts. I'm doing some teaching at local libraries to parents on how to help their children become emotionally intelligent at a very young age.
Wow. What, that's where it all begins, right? I mean, if we're going to change the world and change people's perspectives, um, that it has to be a generational change. And
Yes.
so, again, thank you for doing this work. Appreciate you so much for being here. Like I do with guests like you, I'm just going to say, you coming back. There, you have no choice. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Okay. And in the words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.
I'll be back. Kathy Bott, President and CEO of CWC Leadership Development. Thank you again for being here. Again, you can find out more information about Kathy by visiting her website at cwcleadershipdevelopment.com. We have that link in our chat. But go check her out. And this is something, if you're struggling with this, Kathy is the person to see. Um, you know, this conversation alone, I'm going to start recommending you to people. So thank you so much again, Kathy.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Listen, everybody, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with SoulIVITY in just a second.
Hey there, this is Brian with SoulIVITY.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by SoulIVITY. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by SoulIVITY is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoy the Aspire Academy by SoulIVITY today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life.
Woo, what a show, what a show, what a show, y'all. I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Kathy Bott is the truth.
Indeed.
Any final thoughts from either one of you about this?
Well, I think Kathy is amazing, and I'm really grateful that she's doing what she's doing in our world. And I'm thinking, like, to listeners, and maybe I'm sure you heard right through this, but I think sometimes companies might think, oh, well, we've already done that work,
Right.
because it has been done in different levels over the past decades, but there's a different essence in Kathy. And I think in one thing is that she's done her own work to such an extent, and the vibration that she's holding, it goes beyond the words, the teachings, the essence that she brings to it. So I would highly recommend her too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
Yes.
difference, right, Chanel? I
Yeah.
mean,
Absolutely.
you know, and again, if the leadership, if it's just like a bolt on, right, where they bring in somebody and that kind of thing, and then they don't then the leadership doesn't do it right.
Mhm.
They're still grounded in doing the same way, doing the same things the same way, then change doesn't come across the whole organization.
That's right. That's
Right.
right, Brian. And we were talking about earlier about the conditioning. We've been conditioned to act and think a certain way when we're in these leadership positions,
Right.
when in fact, as we become more authentic, it gives permission. And as we increase our emotional intelligence, it gives permission for the people we're leading to do the same. And then it just puts everybody up on a higher elevation for that creativity and the innovation that Kathy talked about. And then, what I think about when I'm thinking about emotional intelligence, and I think, Sheila, you used the word dormant emotions, or Kathy used that term. I'm also thinking of suppressed emotions, emotions
Mhm.
that we just keep stuffing down. And that really does not lend to our well-being and living that full, beautiful life that is destined for us. And
Yeah.
so just being aware of emotional intelligence, and I encourage the listeners to continue to learn about it and investigate it more, and check out Kathy's website because it has a lot of great information, even on the website.
Before we move on, I want to say you just made me think of something else. I think that um, the younger generations coming up into the workforce will not tolerate the old paradigm.
Mhm.
And so
Absolutely
it's
not.
so
Absolutely not.
essential for companies to get on board with this now,
Yes,
because if they want to succeed over the next generation.
absolutely. Good point,
Great,
Sheila.
great point. Actually, great points all the way around. We got some other great points coming up because we have some SoulIVITY shameless plugs. See what I did there? See what I
You
did there?
just did that.
Yeah, this is our time where we allow our hosts to tell us about what they're doing around the world in terms of supporting people. Um, uh, well, Chanel, I'll go to you first.
Sure, sure. Brian, this week I received an important lesson when I was working out. We have a new trainer in the space, and I he's very accommodating and very nice. And our main trainer is hard and doesn't let you skate. And I noticed that I was falling back on my old tendencies, and my main trainer also noticed because he attended a class with the new trainer. And so, just as a reminder, as you grow, you might find tendencies to slip a little. You might need
Hmm.
a tune up. So, if you're looking for that tune up, if you're looking to stay elevated and you want to talk, feel free to look to me for that one-on-one free consultation. And Brian will put that information in the comments.
Wow, this is such good stuff, right? I mean, where you're able to have this kind of session with you, and I know that it would be beneficial. So,
Thank you.
please, people, take advantage of this kind of stuff. It doesn't come around that often, and so I think it's something important. And something else that's also important, Sheila. You've got some soul connection sessions.
I do. Soul Connection Sessions is uniquely designed to you, but we can help you embrace all of your emotions, connect deeper with your soul energy and the divine force that's within us all. If you want a session, I have a discount for you SoulIVITY listeners, and you just punch in Soul 23 and you'll get $44 off.
Wow, wow! Thank you both. It's been a great
Yes.
show. Um, we have a special announcement that we're going to make again today, and that is, I'm looking for it right now, everybody. Um, this is actually, it's kind of sad. This is our last live broadcast of
Ooh.
this morning with SoulIVITY. We're going to have a rebroadcast tomorrow, and so, but this doesn't mean that we're ending this show. It's actually morphing into SoulIVITY today.
Yay.
So
Yay.
coming Monday, this coming Monday, July 31st, SoulIVITY today is debuting 5 days a week, both on SoulIVITY TV and on KMET 1490 AM radio. So we're going coast to coast, y'all, with real conversations that empower. We're really looking forward to this. I know everybody's excited about the expansion. And so can't wait to bring even more great, empowering discussions to you and even more great topics and guests and that kind of thing. So we'll see you on Monday with the new show. How about that?
All
How about
right.
them apples? Thanks to both of you again for being here. This has been just a wonderful journey. It continues to be just such a beautiful time with both of you and all the other hosts as well.
Absolutely. And you as well,
Yeah.
Brian, you
Am I?
put in the time to, prepare, and we do our own meditation, our centering before we go on air. And so, the energy in the room, kudos to you for your leadership.
Yeah.
And I can see Kathy smiling because we're doing emotional intelligence right now. Anyway, well, we're running up on ending the show, but I just want to say thanks to all of you out there for being on this journey with This Morning with SoulIVITY as we make this needed turn and expansion into SoulIVITY today. It's been wonderful serving all of you, and it's going to be even more wonderful serving you under the new SoulIVITY Today banner next week. So appreciate all the support that you've given us over this last 6 months. So it's been fantastic. This doesn't mean that you can't follow us on social media. You can still follow us on social media. You can go, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Specifically follow us on our YouTube channel because you'll get alerts when we're going live and other specials. Also, you can go to our new and improved SoulIVITY.com for even more information about things that are happening in our world. So until next time, keep having real conversations with passion and purpose and create a life full of high quality living today. We'll see you on Monday, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.